Welcome to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. I'm Peter Martin, delighted to have you on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Tammy McManus and Alison McConnell are here with me, and don't forget you can subscribe to our channel by just basically hitting the subscribe button. Even you can hit the subscribe button over a cough, or indeed if you have the bell as well, you can hit it over the bell. Once the coughing stops, you can hit the bell as well, and you'll get all notifications of when the programme has actually started. Great to have you all with us. Lots to talk about, lots to look back over the weekend. If you have the PLZ Soccer app, you can download the app, and also in there in the menu you have the chance to download the menu, and that will also get you straight through to a doctor, and you can solve the coughing that you have as a problem there as well. Why didn't you just not bother coming in? You should have come in. I mean, honestly, you're so tight with money as well, Ruffy, isn't it? It's unbelievable. The submission part on PLZ Soccer's app will allow you to actually post messages to us immediately. So hopefully you can do that, and it gives you all the latest breaking sports news. Ruffy, great to see you here, because it was an emotional weekend for you.
Yes, unfortunately for me it was, yeah. I let myself down badly at the dinner. I was asked to get up and speak, and I hit a very sentimental note when I started talking about Molly Stalin, who was a big part of Partick Thistle way back in the 71. She was the secretary and ran the whole show, and when I started speaking about her, I started crying, which was...
Yeah.
Well, I recovered quite quickly, because it is embarrassing in front of 400 people, you know, when you start.
Well, to be fair, it shows, Alison, I think, that he's got a heart and he cares.
I don't think there's been any question on that, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. I love the way he looked at you as if to say, and I started crying, because he's never going to look at us two and get any sympathy for it. Anyway, it was a good weekend, Ruffy. A lot of nostalgia in the air.
Friday night, you know, we had a film show that lasted an hour and 15 minutes, all the players talking about their build-up to the game, and the fans had a question and answer. Did
they show the 4-1 win of the 71 League Cup final?
Yes, I actually brought up a point that it seems that the whole bit of film of that has been sabotaged by the BBC. There only is the 4 goals. That's all you get. You don't get anything else. The rest of the stuff has just disappeared into thin air.
Is that right?
For some reason, yeah. So,
wow, because there is footage from ITV, STV, which is Arthur Montford on it. I have heard
that. That was the one, Arthur Montford.
Yeah, so not the BBC then.
No, you get both of them. No, both of them. You get the 4 goals. You get the interview after the game, and that is it. Nothing else.
Yeah,
that's you don't get any defending tackles. You don't get any headers, or you don't get any saves. You just get the 4 goals, and that's it.
Yeah, still great memories. You'll never be able to take it away. Anyway, apart from that, thank you to the so many people who've actually been sending us messages across not only the app, but on our YouTube feed as well. So don't forget, you can do that by downloading that. Just before we start on the weekend's games, can I just say our best wishes going to Wim Jansen. Wim, who was the manager of Celtic between 97 and 98. He won the title with Celtic and, of course, played for Holland with distinction. It's been announced that he is suffering from dementia. So our best wishes go to Wim, one of a long line of footballers who sadly are suffering from this disease now, Ruffy.
Yes, it is. I met Wim a couple of times at Parkhead. Absolute gentleman, you know. And any time for everybody. And believe it or not, he was in the Holland side when we played them over in Argentina, which was absolutely amazing. Big friends of Murdo, obviously. Murdo brought Murdo in there, and it's getting more and more. The more and more days and weeks and months we go by now, there's more and more, unfortunately, footballers picking up this horrible disease. And we're all trying to do something about it, and the sooner they can maybe do something to help, it would be very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's look at the Scottish Premiership results over the weekend. It was an interesting weekend, certainly in our predictor as well. As you can see, Aberdeen managed to win against the Heavies. We'll get Tam's thoughts on that. Celtic 2-0 against St Johnstone. Dundee United edged it by 2-1 against Motherwell. I was there to see Hearts share the points with Dundee 1-1. Ross County looked as if they were in a good place, and Livingston fought back to win 3-2. And then St Mirren started off well with a raker of a goal, but Rangers fought back with 2 goals to win it by 2-1. So with that in mind, let's start with St Mirren against Rangers. Alison, if you're going to score a goal, you might as well make it an absolute raker against Rangers, and Ronan did that. Ronan managed to do that. It was a great goal.
It was a fantastic start. I thought they came out the traps. I thought they played well. Don't think anyone watching the game would have anticipated them taking the shot. I think it took everyone by surprise. I think maybe the only thing that might have been going through Jim Goodwin's head at that stage is then how you manage the game, is how you try and contain Rangers when you know there's so much left still to play. And then I think obviously the game flipped very quickly. I think once Rangers restored parity, they were straight back into it. But I think over the piece, St Mirren competed not too badly. I think Rangers, I don't think they've hit top form at all so far this season. I think they're grinding results out. I think they'll be pleased where they are in terms of the league position, but I think there are signs there that they've just not got the same fluency that they had this time of year a season ago.
Yeah, this is what Steven Gerrard had to say about the overall performance. I thought we were second best in the opening stages. St Mirren started really aggressively. They were on the front foot and they were the better team. But from the moment our reaction and our character was top drawer, we've managed the second half really well. Everyone connected with the club. We're all very proud of Morelos. For me, he needs to go on now and have more targets and aim for more and be hungry for more goals. And he's referring, of course, to Alfredo Morelos scoring 100 goals, Tam. No mean feat in any game.
No, listen, I think it's fantastic to sign him for £1 million. You know, and for him to score 100 goals for Rangers is a fantastic achievement. I think 199 games. So a 1-2 ratio for any striker is really, really good. So, listen, I think he's been a brilliant signing. There's been a lot of controversy over the years with different things off the park, on the park, red cards, but his goal return for Rangers has been very, very good, and he'll go down as a real bargain buy when it eventually does leave Rangers. Yeah,
good strike rate, Ruffy, but I think Steven Gerrard actually would probably think the ratio could be better from Morelos.
Well, I think when you play with the old firm, and if you're a striker, you're going to get more chances than anybody in any of the other leagues, any other teams, because that's what they do, they create chances. And we've saw it in the last 2 or 3 weeks there. Rangers have been actually hammering teams but not putting the ball in the back of the net. Celtic have been hammering teams and not getting the 4 and the 5 and the 6 that they should have. So if you're a striker, you should be the top goal scorer in the division at the end of the year, because you're on top most of the time.
Yeah, here's a little look back at those 100 goals from Alfredo Morelos. I think he should be very proud of his achievement. As Tam says there, it's 1 and 2. It's a good ratio. 59 in the Premiership, Europe 25 goals. He actually surpassed Ali McCoy's strike rate in European football. Scottish Cup 7 goals and the League Cup 9 goals. And he seems quite happy. You're going to cough through this entire show and ruin it. Is it not time you just went home to East Kilbride? Might as well give him pelters, Ruffy. It seems as if he's happy enough at the moment, Alfredo Morelos.
It does, and I think that's a key. I think there were points last season after windows where you wondered whether his head was where it should have been, whether his focus was where it should have been at times. I think you can say it for players at all clubs. I think sometimes when they feel as though they've done their stint and they're looking ahead to where the future may be, I think it's very easy to become distracted and take their eye off the ball. He looks settled. Whatever happens now, you know he's there until January at least. So I think sometimes the closing of the window can just redirect players to the here and now. But certainly he looks fit, I think, again. I think he looks physically in good shape. I think he looks sharp, and Rangers will just be hoping that he sustains that kind of form, because like you, I think there have been times where you've sensed a frustration that he's played within himself, that he could do more and that he could offer the team more. But I think if you can get the goals coming and keep the discipline right, then he's a fairly formidable player to have within your ranks.
Yeah, I think Jim Goodwin would have been happy enough with the goal from Conor Ronan, but not the manner in which they conceded to.
We were comfortable, I felt. I really did. And, you know, the disappointing thing for me is the manner of the goals that we've conceded. You know, you're playing against Rangers and Celtic. If they cut you open and they play some, you know, fantastic free-flowing football, you hold your hands up and just say that it was a good goal, but they're 2 really poor goals from our point of view.
Yeah, and St Mirren have played well, Tam. They were unbeaten in 6 going into that match, and I thought at times, you know, especially at the start of the game, as Steven Gerrard alluded to, they played some nice football.
First 20 minutes I thought they were superb. Rangers couldn't get to grips with them in the middle of the pitch. I thought that Conor Ronan was outstanding. McGrath, I just thought St Mirren looked sharper. Rangers were slow to come out the blocks, and you know, if St Mirren would have got a second goal in that period, it would have been very interesting. But with that one goal, I always felt that Rangers grow into the game. Thursday night was a tough game, coming back into a Sunday game. And the 20 minutes, after 20 minutes, I thought Rangers controlled the game. First half, and then second half, I thought they cruised the game, to be honest. I thought they could have added to it with Sakala. Should have scored with a header. But I don't think there were any trouble really at the back.
Yep, good 3 points for Rangers, and they are at the top of the SPFL. Celtic were at home to St Johnstone. In the end, they got a comfortable 2-0 win, and Ange Postecoglou reckons week by week they're getting better.
It's pleasing, but what's also pleasing is the way we're playing. We're keeping it level, consistent. Manner of playing the game for us, and we want to keep improving that, obviously. But our performances have been good in all the games we've had since the break, and from that point of view, it's pleasing. But we just got to keep going now and keep improving.
The positives for him, Giacomakis gets his first goal, took it well from the cross from Anthony Ralston, and Juranovic just continues to impress.
He does. I think when you consider he's played on the opposite side of where he was brought in to perform, I think he's right-sided. He's probably played on the left purely through necessity since his arrival at the club, more often or not than he's played on the right. I think that's a couple of penalties he's scored. I think he'll be on penalty duty now for the foreseeable future. I think he's been a decent acquisition. Be interesting to see what happens when there's a full quota of players who are back, and Greg Taylor can go back in the left, whether or not Anthony Ralston keeps his place and Juranovic goes back onto the right. But I thought it was a fairly professional performance from Celtic on Saturday. I don't know, it wasn't. It was quite flat at times, I thought.
Did you think it was a penalty?
I did think it was a penalty.
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah, Callum Davison, the St Johnstone boss, he thought otherwise.
Second half, we tried to, it's that cat and mouse, we're trying to press a little bit higher. Again, I thought we did that, and then obviously from our throw-in we give away, for me, really stupid, lose possession really easily. I've watched the penalty back, still not sure whether it was in the box or out the box, but the referee, like Hibs, was very quick to give a penalty against us.
Ooh, not happy. Managers never are when the penalty goes against them. Did the referee get it right?
Yeah, I thought he got it right. I thought it was a clumsy challenge, but when you've got somebody with the pace that he's got coming at you, not coming at you, but in your area, you sometimes you lunge forward, and if you don't get it right, it's a penalty, and I think that was the case at the weekend. And this is the first time I think that the Celtic managers now, he's had a problem of how's he going to fit everybody in up front now. And he's never had that problem before. It's always been one or two or whatever. But now he's got at least four with wee Mickey coming back. He's got 4 or 5 forwards that he's going to have to try and fit in games. And that's the first time he's had that kind of choice, that selection he's had. And they're not losing goals, which I'm sure he'll be positive about. So, you have to believe that what he's telling us now is coming true.
One little negative from this, and Michael Quinn has sent us a message as well on our app, Tam, saying Chris Kane kicking an opponent in the chest while they're on the ground and then swinging a punch once they get to their feet. Was he a lucky man to stay on?
Yeah, I thought he was. I thought it was a red card. I think obviously they booted him when he was on the ground, and then he got up and he raised his hands. So I think if you raise your hands, you're off the park, and I thought he was very lucky to stay on the pitch. It should have been a red card for St Johnstone. Okay, so Celtic get the 3 points, and they are at Easter Road on Wednesday. That's going to be a cracking game. We're going to hear from our reporter Gabriel Antoniazzi out there at the Hibernian training ground very shortly. We'll be talking to him about the games coming up on Wednesday. It's a full card in the SPFL and the Premiership. But now, it's that moment we've all been waiting for, Ruffy. We've been holding our breath. We've been wondering if it was ever going to come. And on a Monday, we were thinking to ourselves, do we need to hire a counsellor for Andrew Shinnie if this just keeps going pear-shaped for him? But Andrew, can you sum up how you are feeling after the Dons get a win over Hibernian?
Foremost, it wasn't a great game of football, but Aberdeen did what was necessary against what I have to say was a really, really poor side.
Yeah, I mean, let's get to the positives first and foremost, which is we'll hear from Stephen Glass. Stephen Glass, first of all, said he reckons that result is just a shot in the arm, and especially good for the people who are backing him.
The aim is to try and prove people right that support you. Dave was very vocal in his support during the week on behalf of himself and the board, but he fronted it up, obviously. So yeah, I want to prove the people right that put me here. I want to prove my family right that I made the choice to come back here too. It's a big challenge. It's one I'm up for, and that's the continual challenge at the club.
Yeah, well, it's one result, Andrew. Have you seen signs from that game at the weekend that suddenly things might just start to click?
It's maybe a little too early to, but there were good signs. We kept a clean sheet, but Hibs didn't have a shot in goal. They only had one shot in the game that was off target, so that tells you how bad they were. But despite the injuries, I thought they managed to shuffle the pack very well, managed to get a solid defensive unit, a decent midfield unit together, and Christian Ramirez definitely benefited from having Marley Watkins playing much closer to him up top. So there's this sort of very light green shoots of recovery. But of course, they've got to go to Ibrox on Wednesday. They've got horrendous injuries defensively. So it's maybe too soon to be saying that Aberdeen have turned the corner.
But the goal itself was well orchestrated. Nice pass by Brown. And then eventually, when the ball comes into Ramirez, he finishes it with some aplomb.
That was a magnificent goal. I said to Stephen after the game, you know, you'd have accepted any sort of goal to break the run, but to get a goal of that quality was a real bonus. Scott Brown, great battling in the middle of the park, good vision to see that Calvin Ramsey had taken off down the right-hand side. Excellent cutback and finish from Ramirez, and it was a move that they'd been working on the training ground, because there have been times where Calvin Ramsey has delivered the wrong type of cross into the box, but on that occasion he got it spot on. And when you see it from behind the goal, it's not an easy finish for Ramirez. Tam, having been a striker, I'm quite sure, despite being a Hibbie, would have appreciated the skill that was involved in that finish.
Good finish, Tam, from Ramirez, but the downside is, as Andrew has highlighted there, Hibs have just gone off the rails.
I don't think they were much better on Saturday than they were the week previous to Dundee United. Devoid of any sort of creativity and pace in the final third. Never really cut Aberdeen open at all. I don't think the Hibs had a shot on target, which is criminal in a 90-minute game. I thought Aberdeen made the game quite messy in the second half. They were quite happy just to win 1-0. Scott Brown dropped back into the back three at one point as well, so I thought Aberdeen thoroughly deserved to win. First half I thought they were the better team. Second half they'd done enough. Hibs had a lot of the ball but never created anything, so big problem for Jack Ross. Celtic coming up Wednesday, 3 defeats in a row, so listen, they need to turn the corner and start playing better.
Yeah, Andrew, I know there's a good reaction from Aberdeen fans to Dave Cormack coming out. Stephen Glass obviously gets the result, which obviously helps the fans as well. But what's the overall feeling in the city about Aberdeen's predicament at the moment?
Not sure. Some folk are looking at it as being a bit of an experiment, and they think that Aberdeen's too big a club to be doing something like that. I think there were certainly signs there on Saturday that there's definitely a togetherness amongst the players. You could see that from the reaction when they scored. They all ran to the technical area to celebrate with the coaching staff. And at the end of the game, all the fans in the 9,500 crowd had stayed behind, and Scott Brown led them round a lap of honour just to say thank you for sticking by us as much as anything else. But I think we've still got very difficult games coming up over the next few weeks. And if we can start putting together a few results, Hearts coming to Pittodrie next Saturday, I'm quite sure a lot of fans will be expecting Aberdeen to do well in that. But it's going to be interesting to see how they handle any setbacks. And being totally realistic, I think there is a setback awaiting them on Wednesday night, but see if they can get a positive result on Wednesday. The flags will be out in Aberdeen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, of course, because any game between Rangers and Aberdeen is special. And in fact, a lot of my mates were saying is Aberdeen at Tynecastle are saying Aberdeen have won the game and they're going round in a lap of honour. And I thought, well, I wonder if Andrew will get a DVD and a book out of this as well. I was just wondering if they were going to release a DVD, Andrew. But nevertheless, we were worried about you. We were worried that you were going to be on a complete downer all the way to Christmas. But you're back, and you're back in style.
We've been around this crazy game for long enough to know that, for every down there's an up. Sometimes you have to wait a bit longer for the ups, right enough, but over the piece, things balance themselves out, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. You're long enough in the tooth to know that. You've seen the good times and the bad times at Pittodrie. Andrew, absolutely first class to hear from you there. Andrew Shiny, your man in the North East, keeping us up to date with all things Dons and how it's all going. I'm delighted. Obviously, Tam's not happy, but I'm delighted Andrew got to see the win, and you never know. I mean, what a lift they would get if they got anything from Ibrox.
Well, I have to tell Andrew that I was the only one that stuck my neck out and went for Aberdeen at the weekend. I thought they were due a wee break here and there. They had been getting beat, obviously, but there were glimpses of they could have taken something out of their games. So, and we sat on the show and we're talking about all the managers that are under pressure. And most of the ones that are under pressure are now getting a wee bit of a break, apart from one, which we'll probably come to later on.
Yeah.
But it's good to see them getting a win. You can see the relief in their faces, and I don't mind them coming out and saying, I don't want to say the word I was going to say there, but to people who he thinks were having a go at him, to just say, look, I told you just to sit tight and we'd get it right.
Well, listen, I mean, at the end of the day, you don't mind a manager or a chairman coming out and having a go, fine, providing he's sticking to the facts. I mean, you only have to listen to what Andrew said. I mean, on a weekly basis, Aberdeen were just poor. The results were there. That's why the manager was being criticised.
And I think, essentially, too, the result would have been welcome on Saturday, but if they lose to Rangers at Ibrox midweek and then lose again at the weekend, you're right back in the mire.
Yeah.
It alleviates the pressure in the short term, but unless it's a catalyst now to start building a run of form, then you're straight back in where you were.
Yeah, you can imagine them coming in after the game and the manager saying, right, let's go on a run now. And somebody says, you see who we've got next?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the problem with Aberdeen is going to be injuries. McKenzie never played on Saturday, Ramsey came off injured and Gallagher came off injured.
Yeah.
So it was 3 of their back 4 come off when they played at the weekend, so I think they're going to struggle at Ibrox on Wednesday when no defenders.
Yeah, absolutely, good point, Tam. I was at Tynecastle for Hearts against Dundee just to see if Charlie could strut his stuff, hit a few 40-yard diagonals. Again, I mean, he's just an absolute class act. He took absolute pelters in the match, I have to tell you. But Hearts, Ruffy, they kind of, you mentioned your favourite word from last week, hummed and hawed, because basically they didn't have that real edge, cutting edge in that final third. They had a lot of possession. The only moment of real craft was Suter calmly at the edge of the box, curling that ball into the roof of the net. Yeah,
they had 75% of the game, so it shows you the possession they had. I only saw the highlights, and it was one of the highlights that they could have, one would have been enough. They'd already scored one, but if they'd got another one, the game was done and dusted for me, but they just couldn't get it. Dundee started to grow into the game, and when you're only winning 1-0, that's always something going to happen in the last 5-10 minutes of a game. You've got to put these games away. And I think that kind of evidence at the weekend dismisses all our talk about a challenge to Rangers and Celtic and splitting the old firm. These kind of results that Hibs are getting and Hearts are getting, that's the reasons why they won't. Because they've got to win these games if they're going to do anything. Yeah,
I think you need to have a special mentality, a cutthroat mentality, a person who can drive you on. I don't know if they have someone that can drag them into games just to edge it out there. Dundee, the one thing that I noticed the difference between them, Tam, Dundee had 2 substitutes they could bring on who actually could affect the game. I mean, Killian Sheridan, the minute he come on, won every header. Cummings comes on, he's lively, he's in about the box, and he just waits and he gets the simplest set piece from a long throw in to score.
Yeah, he did. Listen, that's what Cummings is all about. I've seen him for years at Hibs. He's a penalty box player, and read it, we knocked down and puts it in the back of the net, and he'd enjoyed that, you know, going back to Hearts.
Yeah.
You know, you get
His
released.
dad was in the Jambos then.
Was he?
You know,
I think he grew up a Hearts fan. He was released for Hearts as a kid, so that was a sweet moment for him. But at Hearts, you know, as I said, I think you're right. I don't think they've got a real top operator who could take games with the scruff of the neck. I think they're a good side, solid side.
Yeah.
I thought Suter was their best player. I think they'll struggle to keep a hold of him in January. I thought he scored a great goal, and by all accounts he was absolutely superb.
Well, Tam, do you know the one thing that was absolutely unbelievable about him? When he's fit, he's a good player. He must have hit 5 30 to 40 yard right to left diagonals out to Kingsley. And not once did Dundee the penny drop that he was able to switch it and open the play, but he was doing it with great regularity, great passing. I mean, I just wonder if, you know, we're going to talk about Charlie Mulgrew with people talking about an international call-up. I just wonder, is he not quick enough?
Suter, no, I think he's got to be knocking on the door. I think he's playing very, very well at the minute. I think there'll be big clubs looking at him. He's out of contract, and at the end of the season he can speak to clubs in January. So I think Hearts will be desperate to keep him. I know Hearts have looked after him, he's been through injuries, but I think he's at an age now where he'd be looking maybe for a bigger club, bigger move down the road. So we'll need to wait and see. But if Hearts can get him tied up in a 2 or 3 year deal, it'd be great business. I think he's top draw, to be honest. I think he's very good. Yeah,
I liked him. I thought he played well at the weekend. The one thing I would say, and this is the downside of football, which we on a regular basis, when we come out of the weekend and look back on football, we talk about the abuse. And I did ask James McPake about the abuse that his player Lee Griffiths was taking, and he basically had a go at the Hearts boss because I think he felt Robbie Neilson had stoked the fire ahead of the match.
He'll go to the fact that there were a voting scandal, there were this and that. We've played him 3 times since then. He was a manager of Dundee United. I don't think there were a need to say again that's maybe he should concentrate on his own team, and yeah, rightly so. He's got to try and get his own fans up for it. But you're at Tynecastle, or a chance to go top of the league. I don't think certain comments help the situation that you've just brought up, really, and it is stoking the fire.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we like a bit of hype, we like a buzz and a wee edge to a game, but this one, I think, actually, I don't think it gives fans a licence to abuse people, Alison, but at the moment, because of the nature of the conduct of some supporters, it wasn't nice to hear some of the things that were being sung towards Lee Griffiths, whether you like him or not.
No, I completely agree. I think some things are just entirely distasteful. I think we've spoken about this before. I think face to face people react differently than when they do when they're in a crowd or when they're in front of a screen. I think it's very easy to forget that you're speaking to another person, that you're directing abuse to an individual. I think if you're in a crowd, the mob mentality sometimes just takes over your brain and you become engaged with what's going on around about you rather than thinking about the direct effect it has on people. I think you have to call it out. I think you have to keep bringing it back up. I think you have to keep speaking about it. It's the only way. I know that there's always been an unsavoury element to aspects of crowd behaviour and what's said, but I think you have to just keep bringing it to the fore and keep addressing it.
Yeah, Jason Cummings obviously stood by his teammate, and he reckoned that, you know, if that was out in the street, it might have been a different outcome for some of the people shouting the abuse.
You know, you get your ticket and it says in small print, like, you can say what you want, do what you want, don't worry about it. Because, you know, some of the abuse and the stuff he says is disgusting. You know, if you were to say that in any other work of life or any other job, it'd be, police would be involved in that, or in the street or anything. So I don't know how it's right for when, you know, it comes to a game that they can just say what they want, do what they want.
I don't know, you know, everybody walked out onto the park, Tam, and held up "Show Racism" the red card. And sometimes I think, and I understand why black footballers get so upset sometimes with what they see as tokenism. You know, people just making a gesture because they think they have to follow a certain code. And then people forget 10 minutes later, it's like a goldfish going round the bowl. You know, they think, okay, we've done it, we've put our symbol up there, now we'll get on and we'll fire into people again.
Yeah, listen, it's unsavoury. Listen, I was a player myself and played in Derby games and played at Celtic and Rangers and whatever. And as you said, people wouldn't say that stuff to your face or in the street, but because they're in the crowd, they think they can get away with it. Social media is the exact same now. People write anything they want to you. And some of the shouts to Lee Griffiths, I'm sure, would have hurt him. You know, but you know, until it's called out, until people are, you know, shopped by other fans or pulled out the crowd or banned, then people are just going to have free rein to shout whatever they want. And that goes to managers as well. You know, managers getting abused and coaches.
Yeah.
Neil Lennon put up with it for years as a manager of Celtic and Hibs. So until it's called out, until people are banned and whatever, then it's just going to continue, sadly.
Yeah, I felt sorry because when I was looking around from where we were in the press box, I mean, there are kids in the stand and they're impressionable.
Yeah, we keep saying, how do you stop it? Is it the steward's responsibility? Is it the good fans' responsibility to point the finger at these people? Who is it? Should it be plainclothes policemen sitting in areas where they think there are an excessive bit of it happening? But the only way, we keep saying it, we keep repeating ourselves, just catch them and punish them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so they shared the spoils at Tynecastle. Dundee United edged it by 2-1 against Motherwell, and calls for Charlie Mulgrew to get a Scotland recall. Is he worthy of it?
I think he has to be in consideration, just given the way he's played to the start of the season. I think he's maybe a backup choice if there are other injuries. I think there's probably people who are still ahead of him at the minute. But you know, you heard what he said. He's never retired. I don't think any player turns their back. I think performances have been strong. I thought the last few times I've seen him, he's been the standout player for Dundee United in what's been an impeccable start to the campaign for them. I think if you keep playing the same way, you become very difficult to ignore.
Yeah, I like his attitude of wanting to always be available. Not everybody has that attitude, Ali.
Well, yes.
Yeah, there are a few who decide when they want to call it up. I think I like Charlie's attitude to it. I'm available until you don't want me.
Yeah, he's played out with skin. I was at Easter Road the week before. I thought he was the man of the match. I thought he was absolutely outstanding. He strolled the game. So if he keeps playing the way he's playing now, I don't think there's any reason why he shouldn't be called up, because he's got experience. He's playing out with skin. He's not retired. So if you want to pick players on form, then I think that Charlie Mulgrew's got to be one of the ones, along with Suter, that's got to be looked at.
Yeah, and Dundee United, by the way, Ruffy,
yeah,
they're playing well.
They're on a confident run now. You know, you can see that when they're playing. You know, everybody was getting them a wee bit of stick at the beginning of the season, but now they're winning games. And when you win games constantly, you know, the confidence grows and the supporters behind you grows as well. And they're getting the wee goal, the wee break. Even I know Charlie scored the goal, but it hit off the boy's chest, and so you get these wee breaks, and you take them and you move on. So no, when you're on a run like that, you know, you just enjoy it while it's there.
Yeah, absolutely. The other point I was going to make to you, Ruffy, as well as, is Charlie Mulgrew worthy of a call-up?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But got to be in the pool.
centre halves were short on them.
Yes, of course we are, and I think we're relying far too many times. So, you know, if Charlie's available, he's a top-class player. He went down to England, you know, and played in top class down there, so he must still be good enough.
Yeah, no point in talking to these two about your favourite team. I think it's only right and proper, Tam, that we let Ruffy talk about Malky Mackay and Ross County, because I thought...
He jinxed them.
Sitting in the press box, I actually thought this is the moment.
I stuck my neck out again, then went for Ross County the weekend, and when Ross County scored that first goal, you see the look in Malky Mackay's face on the telly, and he looked, I don't know who he looked up to the stand, and it was a sort of a look of, this is it, you know, this is the day, and obviously it just went a bit pear-shaped after that. His defences, they missed it, I know, but some of the goals they're losing is diabolical, and as you're a manager, Malky will be working on that from Monday to Friday, you know, and then he comes to the Saturday, and everything they've probably been working on, he's getting into the game looking with a bit of confidence, and all of a sudden, some people let him down. But the penalty miss was the big one.
Yeah, if you have a look at the Premiership table, Ali, Rangers on top by 3 points from Hearts, Dundee United, and then Celtic tucked in fourth position there, just a point behind Dundee United and Hearts, and then you've got a whole scramble in the middle there. But at the bottom end, St Johnstone find themselves in unusual territory alongside Dundee and Ross County.
I think the danger is, if you're down at the bottom there, that you get cast adrift. If you have a poor result and those round about you have good results, all of a sudden you can start to see a chasm opening up, which I think then feeds into a whole sense of anxiety around the position. I think they'll be very keen to stay within touching distance of one another, those bottom three clubs.
Yeah, absolutely.
The chasm could be in Wednesday, then Dundee, play Ross County.
Yeah.
If Dundee win that one, that's them adrift. You know, and they're adrift for the first time this season, and I don't think they've got it in them to get out yet.
No.
It doesn't matter if they win it, obviously.
Well, I was thinking, you know, he's got to try and, for me, Tam, he's got to try and pick up some points to get him to January, so Roy McGregor will do the usual thing, which is back him, and I think Malky will just go out and buy 3 or 4 defenders.
Yeah,
that's where they're losing.
Yeah, the problem, as Ruffy says, is they've got a huge game on Wednesday against Dundee. They could be 7 points adrift from Livingston's and teams like that running about them. Dundee, that's the games they've got to win. We were talking about it, they had a very, very difficult start. They played a lot of the top teams early doors, and they've scrambled a couple of draws at it. But if you're getting beat off the teams running about you, he's got to be under pressure. 3 points out of 30 is not good enough.
Yeah. As ever on a Monday, we always like to see Gabriel Antoniazzi's Team of the Week. And there you have it. Siegrist in goal, Brown, Edwards, Mulgrew. How he's managed to sneak Scott Brown into the back three, I do not know. Bailey, McGregor, Callaghan, Hadji, and Mungmo, Mackay, and Cummings. Any arguments with any of those players, Tam? You're always the one who's more vocal than most.
Nah, listen, I was at obviously Aberdeen Hibs. I don't think anybody really stood out in that game. Bruni trapped in at the back three at one point because they're running out of defenders. That'd be a problem for them on Wednesday, but certainly no Hibs players deserve to be in it.
Yeah, Ruffy, anybody that you think?
Yeah, no, I thought the big goalie has been sensational. Yep. I thought he was going to move on to possibly one of the bigger clubs. Just my point of view, I don't think it was a penalty. I thought he punched the ball at Motherwell when they got a penalty, but I didn't think he deliberately went through the player.
Right, okay. There you are, sticking for the goalkeepers union. I'm quite happy with that, Ruffy. Predictor table, Alison, there's still that look on your face. Just a kind of a condescending look at the moment, Ali, but I'm quite happy for you. I'm quite happy for you to have that, because you're up at the top in the predictor table with 96 points. I'm tucked in behind you in 84, 79 for Hugh McDonald, 73 for Ruffy. And then the big worry now, Ruffy, is Tam is slipping down at 71 and Gabriel is catching up on him. He's 3 behind, and the problem is, and this is the dilemma of the predictor table, is when you start to predict consistently because you're working for Hibs TV, it suddenly catches you out and Gabriel can pick up points, Ruffy.
I have to say, when I saw the results coming through and I saw the results that we all had, I was quietly pleased for Gabriel, because he is beginning to panic. There's a big panic on him just now. So I think he got 2 correct scores, did he? He hadn't had many correct scores. But no, he'll have had a good weekend.
Oh, Hugh's been dragged into it. He had a bad weekend. He's been...
Yeah, he's there as well. Will you consistently stick by Hibs? I know Ruffy tried it for 9 years and then eventually gave up, but
I'm losing patience. As I start to drift closer to Gabs, I'm thinking just to go for against Hibs.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to hear from Gabs shortly. He's been out at Hibs to see manager Jack Ross, because they've got a big game, as Ruffy alluded to, some great games on Wednesday, and of course we'll all have our predictions for that. Just before we get to Gabs, I can tell you Ruffy and I were out today at Tory Glen because there was a great tournament going on, Ruffy, walking football, which is getting more and more popular.
More and more popular. I was surprised when I saw the ages of all the leagues. There's 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds, and I have to be saying that a lot of them look pretty fit for the ages that they are, and they're so determined and focused and willing, and it's great, you know. And the other thing, although there was a couple of wee tackles and things here and there, the sportsmanship is magnificent. They're all patting each other on the back and well done, and you've done well, and you know, it's good to see, you know, people enjoying themselves, because the main thing about it is keeping fit, and certainly that's what they're all trying to do.
I think the biggest thing, though, and you'll know this, Alison, is the camaraderie, when people can all get together for an excuse to go and do something together.
I think it's really important, that aspect of it. I think, especially now, you talk about the mental health aspects to contemporary life. I think keeping people connected is important. I think particularly for a male environment. I think women are very good at hooking up and going for a coffee or going for a walk and having a gab and just letting off a wee bit of steam. I think for men it's not quite the same thing. You maybe go for a pint, but I think going and doing a wee bit of sport, a wee bit of exercise, and then there's a bit of company involved. I think it's important. I think it's a good thing. I don't know how many have got big futures in the game right enough, but
I was going to say to you, as soon as you said, just women go for it's more likely to go for a coffee and a gab, I looked at him and I thought, no, Ruffy's in that category as well.
Before we move on, I have to mention Charlie, the 5'2" goalie.
Yes.
He's wonderful today. He's a pleasure. He must have, I said to Peter, it must have been a bonus when he went into 7-a-side goals. He was a bit that.
Yeah, absolutely. His face was
Keenan's mustard.
His face was I think he must have been diving in the black pellets in the 5-a-side AstroTurf pitch.
My dad plays walking football, plays with Rosville, so he dusted his Puma Kings out that he's had for about 50 years. And he goes up and plays walking football. He loves it. He says he loves getting up with the guys and all that.
Well, they were coming down for Broth and Edinburgh.
Westmahago, Linlithgow, the lot. It was brilliant.
Fantastic.
There was a team from Hearts there. I think the final was won by St Anthony's, who were playing green and white hoops, which is ironic that you and I should turn up for that, Ruffy. But they won the tournament. But just in case you want to get involved in it, it is actually growing in popularity. I caught up with our friend Matt Ramsey, who's the participation officer for Walking Football, and here's a wee insight into what you might want to get involved in.
Varies of ways to get involved. If you're in Glasgow, you can obviously get involved with Glasgow sports sessions, or if you're elsewhere across the country, you go onto Walking Football Scotland's website. They have all information on how to get involved and join in. It's tremendous. We're getting people walking football across the country. There's over about 3,000, nearly 4,000 people taking part on a week-to-week basis. We're keen to grow that and make sure more important people can get involved and enjoy the many benefits, health benefits, physical benefits, mental health benefits as well.
Yeah, well done to Matt Ramsey and all the teams there. Well done to St Anthony's. Great to see that. Walking football. Now you know how you can get involved. Big week of football coming up. Certainly a full card on Wednesday. Dundee, Ross County, Hibs, Celtic, Livingston against Dundee United, Motherwell, St Mirren, Rangers against Aberdeen is mouth-watering, and St Johnstone against Hearts. Jack Ross was speaking today, and our man Gabriel Antoniazzi headed out to the Hibernian Training Centre to get his thoughts.
Good afternoon from the Hibernian Training Centre here on the outskirts of Edinburgh. Hibs suffering a poor run of form at the moment, just one win in their last 6 in the league. Manager Jack Ross saw his side lose 1-0 to Aberdeen at the weekend. They face Celtic on Wednesday night at Easter Road, and he hopes his players can turn their form around.
When you're having a difficult spell, or certainly a spell that you've not been used to in recent times, then you want the next game to come around quickly, and also I think the type of game it will be on Wednesday night, I think is one that the players are looking forward to. I understand the modern world and how quickly hysteria can be created, but we are disappointed with the last three results, but equally there's a lot of players there that have been big part of what we did last season and what we've done early this season, and in the cup competition progressing to our semi-final, so there is a great deal of trust within there, and there's a calmness about them as well.
So Hibs have lost their last 3, just as they did at the start of 2021. It was a game against Celtic, a 1-1 draw at Parkhead in January that stopped the bleeding, as manager Jack Ross said. He hopes the same can happen on Wednesday night. Hibs are down in 5th and they face a Celtic team one place ahead of them, who've won their last 4 games.
Lots of games to look forward to. Thanks to Gabs for that report there. Is there a wee bit of anxiety about what's happening at Hibs at the moment, Tom?
Yeah, I think the last couple of games, I think it's not been good enough for Hibs, and the Hibs supporters are, demanding. I think they want to be up in that top 3, top 4, and they're now dropping down the table. So, listen, Celtic, I wouldn't say it's a free hit, but you go into it with less pressure than you have in the last couple of games, and maybe that will suit Hibs. Ryan Porteous comes back from suspension, which I think is a big bonus. And but it's the final third that I'm worried about with Hibs. The last couple of games have been devoid of anything. Jamie Murphy came on at the weekend and played quite well, so it'll be interesting to see how they go up top, but it'll be a tough game. Celtic are flying at the minute, and I'm just need to wait and see.
Yeah, thanks to so many people who've posted messages to us from downloading the app, and of course the messages we read out on our live feed from YouTube from the thoroughly decent people. I would also remind everyone that we do try and ban as many people as possible who step out of line. We will continue that fight. It's long and laborious, but it's worthy and well worth it in the end if we can get the 95 to 99% of people that are decent, that love their club and want to talk football. There are some people who, unfortunately, are unhinged and certainly can't be educated at this moment, but we try our best on this show. And with that in mind, lots of people have been sending us messages. A viewer from Belfast who watches the programme, Ruffy, says, a great show, enjoy the variety of guests you have in the studio. I've got one for Ruffy. He says, why do you never see a keeper wear a cap anymore? Is there some sort of directive on this? You don't see as many people with a cap just to keep the sun out.
Yeah, you're right. I think it depends on how low the sun used to be. I used to wear a cap sometimes, but I used to end up throwing it in the bin because it didn't do me any good at all. Just annoying more than anything else. You're right, you don't see caps at all. The other, if you remember, he's one of the older gentlemen who sang me, Jim Herriot, who used to play for Hibs, used to do the American football one with the black...
Oh yeah, they put the black
lines under the way the quarterbacks do, and he seemed to think that worked, the glare of the thing, but that was just taking a bit too far.
Yeah, well listen, I mean, Robbie Fowler used to put the tape, the plaster on his nose.
That,
yeah, absolutely, because you know, I'm sure some footballers, if you to say to them, look, you'll be able to play better if you stick a pineapple in your head, somebody would walk out with a rally, to be honest with you. James says, whoa, Tam McManus, heard you on Hibs TV on Saturday. And I think James is from Aberdeen. He says, you only saw Greenman. So he says, that chip over the Hibs player, then a deliberate foul, and you said, that's no foul. Oh, Tam, oh, Tam, oh, Tam.
I remember that foul. I did say at the time I thought that the player had ran into McGregor, but I immediately, when I seen the replay, I changed my opinion and I said it was a definite yellow because McGregor did put his shoulder into the player. So he's right, I did at the start think it wasn't a foul, but I did say it was a yellow card.
Yeah, absolutely. Backtracking there, quick as you can. Jamie says to us, I thoroughly enjoyed the look back at the 1971 League Cup final with Ruffy and Alex Ray. You can get it on our YouTube channel. It's called That Game, and there's just a lot of players looking back on special games they were involved in. Alec Ray, the Rangers player, talking about the helicopter changing direction. Pat Bonner on there as well. So you'll be able to look at so many players. James McFadden talking about that night in Paris. Jamie says Alec Ray looks fit and a dead ringer for a Lion King with that hair, because he's got some head of hair.
He certainly has, and it's obviously it's a strawberry blonde. He has. He's not orange. If anybody ever says to him, he was fighting fit on Friday, but if you'd have seen him last night at 3 o'clock in the morning, he definitely wasn't fighting fit.
James says we should do some referees as well, some one-to-ones, which I think we will, Ruffy. We'll do one-to-ones with referees, get a wee bit of chat from them as well. And this one is just scandalous, Alison, just basically because sometimes I feel you can get slandered and there's no way of looking back at it. It's in the person's memory and you've just got to take it on the chin. And this is from Ken Wilson from Waterfoot, who says, hi Peter, I remember meeting you and Derek Johnson in a hotel in Prague before the Rangers Victoria Zhishkov match back in 2003. It was a disastrous result, but it was surpassed only by the fact that you and DJ were bought a round of white wine and then you nipped off to bed without reciprocating. which to be fair, sounds just about right for me and DJ. Thanks for the wine. All the best for the rest.
Did you actually take the wine with you up to the room?
No, well, to be fair, it's a long night. Derek hasn't written to me since, but nevertheless, absolutely fantastic. Lots of people sending us messages, and I want to thank you all for that, because it's good to read them out. And one here says, hi Peter, I'd like to run the idea past yourself and your colleagues. Should we allow substitutes when teams have used their allocated subs and an injury occurs and they're reduced to 10 men, as happened to St Mirren yesterday? I'd like to hear you guys and Alison's thoughts on this. Tommy the Tailor Man.
I'd have no problem with it at all. I think the game's far more competitive when you have 11 v 11. I think it's different if you have a numerical disadvantage because of someone being sent off. I think that's completely different, but I think an injury when you've committed all 3 subs is something that's out with your control. I think it's common sense.
Yeah, absolutely, but who needs common sense in our game? We can't get that.
I would take that a step further. I would take, see, if a player like doesn't get sent off but makes a bad challenge and the person that he's injured goes off the park, I think he should go off the park as well.
Yeah,
if he gets a yellow card.
That's an interesting one.
If the referee thinks he gets a yellow card, then he should go off the park as well.
Until he's come back
until
on.
the other player comes back on.
Tam, you having that? Tam's not having that, are you?
It's an interesting concept, Ruffy, but
yeah.
No, not for me.
Okay. Listen, talking of interesting concepts, there is a thing going on down south where some clubs keep their manager even when it looks as if everything's going wrong. And, as a Liverpool fan, Ruffy, it was a joy to watch Man United getting absolutely stuffed yesterday, but I couldn't help but cast my eye towards Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the team and the way they played. And I just thought to myself, Manchester United are rudderless.
Yeah, you have particularly been speaking about it for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and he has been hanging on by skin. And that kind of result, and most other clubs would mean the end, but for some reason they seem to, I'm only listening to Gary Neville talking about it, they seem to have a policy to stick in with him and give him to the end of the season because they have something going on between him and the owners, and there's a road or a tunnel that seem to be going down, but it's not working just now.
Yeah, well, the tunnel's getting deeper, and the fans are getting less enchanted with it. This is what Ollie had to say after Liverpool had stuffed Manchester United 5-0.
Of course, it's the worst feeling. You feel rock bottom, and the feeling we've had that we are getting to where we want to be has been there. But then in the last few weeks, we've hit a brick wall. And the results haven't come, performances haven't come. We've conceded too many goals, too many easy goals, and that's a concern.
Yeah, I don't even think I think the cameraman was a Manchester United fan as well, Ali, because he was lucky he got him in the frame there. But nevertheless, it's a situation where I think all of us think when we're watching that there's a lot of individuals, but there doesn't seem to be any structure, organisation, a style about United.
No, they look a shadow of the side that they were, and a shadow of the side that they should be. When you go through the squad and you look at the quality that's within the squad, I think that they should be greater than what they're producing at the minute. I think every time Liverpool went forward, they just attacked at will. They could open them at will. I think it could have been more than 5. I think Liverpool were fairly breathtaking in their forward play, but you just felt that Manchester United were ridiculously limp. They just had nothing about them. At one point, when the camera panned to the dugout, I thought, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer looked grey. I thought he just looked like a man in the headlights. I thought he just looked trapped in the moment, and you think, where do you go from here? How do you pick a team like that up after such a result?
Yeah, well, you look at some of the defeats and the bad ones that United have had over the years. 5-0 against Man United, 6-1 against Tottenham back in 2020, 6-1 against Manchester City was a tough one in 2011. Chelsea thumped them 5-0 in 1999, and Newcastle, of course, and who can forget that? I think that was the Philippe Albert chip, which was special in 1996. But I don't know about you, Tam, I was absolutely gobsmacked getting up this morning and thinking, he's still in a job.
I can't believe he's still in a job. I don't know if they're maybe having meetings behind the scenes at the minute to come up with a payoff or something. I can't believe he'll survive that. They've got Man City, I think they've got Tottenham away at the weekend and then Man City at home the following week. And if they go into that Man City game with Solskjaer at the wheel, it could be about 8 or 9 nothing. So, it's up to them.
8 or 9?
Maybe more. Maybe a doing.
It's been a long while. In fact, I was thinking of the last time somebody actually won 8 or 9 nothing, and it was Man United, I think, against Ipswich. Would have been up there the last time I've witnessed something like that. But they're in free fall at the moment. I mean, you'll have to look at the picture of Fergie said it all. It spoke 1,000 words, didn't it?
The contrasting images, actually. So you had Kenny Dalglish on one half of the screen chortling away, and then you had Sir Alex Ferguson. He just looked grim. It just was really pretty awful view, and I think if you're a Manchester United fan, and I think it just brings into question just the signings. I know we spoke about Ronaldo at the time and this big showcase arrival coming in to galvanise people. I think they needed reinforcements in other areas of the pitch.
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, I don't think I think if it wasn't for Ronaldo, he'd have been billeted long before now, Ruffy, because Ronaldo has papered over the cracks with his striking prowess. Elsewhere, David Moyes. We always like to compliment Davy because, quite simply, West Ham are up to 4th. Man United sacked him. Certainly didn't give him the money that subsequent managers have had, but he's done really, really well. What we'll do is, don't forget, if you're listening to the podcast tonight, we'll edit out the coughs all the way through that show. It could take us an hour and a half to actually edit out the coughs, Ruffy. It's been the worst possible show ever, and I don't think we should have him here on Wednesday if he continues in this vein, Ruffy.
No, I think he'll have to do some tests before he comes in that door.
I want
to see your passport.
Yeah,
I want it to be double stamped.
Yeah, I want to see the double stamp, and of course, if he continues in this vein, folks, we'll have his wife in here on the show because she's got an opinion as well, Ruffy.
Yes. So he keeps telling us anyway.
So we'll get your prediction, Tam, because, well, you're going to be in on Wednesday with hopefully your health, but can you see the Hibbies bouncing back?
I think they might get a draw.
Yeah?
But I'll need to think about it the next couple of days.
Ali?
I think Celtic will win 2-1. I think Hibs will give them problems. I think the pressure's off Hibs. I don't think you're expecting them to take anything. I think the pressure's all on Celtic's 2014 since Celtic last won in League duty at Easter Road. It's been a tough ground for them to go and win at. I fancy them to get the win, but I think it'll be tight.
Yeah, it's going to be. We're going to get your predictions, Ruffy. Hang fire tomorrow.
Can I just do something off a left field?
Yeah.
Could I wish the Scottish cricketers all the best? They're playing in the finals of the cricket T20. They're playing Afghanistan tonight, and they're absolute inspiration. I love anything with Scotland. Anything that Scotland's doing that they're winning at, I'm right behind them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed Peter and Ruffy's football show, but Ruffy's just going off. You sure you don't want to announce the Bowls final while you're at it?
No.
No, have you won at Bowls?
No, I got my trophy on Saturday night.
Did you?
Thank you very much.
That's fantastic. Okay, no, I'm right behind you, Ruffy. Actually, it would be great if they could produce a result. Thanks very much to Alison and Ruffy for not infecting anybody on the show. Thanks to you for putting up with his coughing. Tam McManus will be back. That's Tam McManus, by the way, that you can hear on the podcast. Hopefully, we'll edit as much of that out as we possibly can. In fact, we might not even put it out to the detriment of the entire. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.